I'm Melanie Massey Groves. I'm from West Monroe, Louisiana. Been here my whole life. I'm a native. I am the owner and operator of Melanie Massey Physical Therapy. I'm also the owner of Mojoy Studio, and my other pursuit is MoCo Leadership. I graduated from physical therapy school when I was 23 years old, and I worked at LSU Medical Center over in Shreveport. Enjoyed it. I loved physical therapy. I loved everything that I was experiencing early in the career. But I had a little boy who I'd grown up down the street from, and his name was Josh, and Josh had severe cerebral palsy. I was 25 when I made the decision that I felt like I could start a clinic. I needed to start a clinic. I needed to help kids like Josh. There was no place for kids to go for physical therapy. Hardly in Louisiana, maybe one or two in Louisiana. It was very rare. Remember, this is 1995. And so I decided I was going to kind of pioneer that up here. I started going to doctor's offices and just getting literally on the floor and explaining to them what development looks like and why a child with cerebral palsy needs to we need to start early development, working with them when they're 1 and 2 years old, or babies. And then I bartered with somebody, and I was able to find a company here in town. It was a nonprofit organization who needed a physical therapist but couldn't afford a physical therapist at the time. I bartered a little room in the back of that building and said, I'm willing to work for you for half price if I can use that room for anybody who doesn't qualify for your services. Can they come see me as a physical therapist here? And I started with just pediatrics in the beginning. And I mean, the rest is history. I can remember going from like check number one, patient number one, which was Josh, then Lyles, then Kelsey, then Maddie, and I can think of all my babies in the beginning. And this year, Melanie Massey is going to do about 100,000 visits. I think that Melanie Massey Physical Therapy impacts the lives of patients the most by casting hope. I think that I'll cry. I think that's why people like coming here. If you have a baby and you've just been given a diagnosis, you don't know what to expect. We're going to help you. We're going to come along, link arms, and we're going to take you through the lifespan if you need us. We're going to be there. I have been interested in leadership since I was young. I was the nerd kid that was 11 and 12 years old. My grandfather was a Southern Baptist preacher, and he would send me the big clamshells with all the cassettes that you could order, and I would listen to Zig Ziglar. I really, really loved John Maxwell and wanted to learn more about John Maxwell. And in 2012, I had the opportunity to fly to Florida and learn from him. I loved learning from him. I love the concept of everyone's a leader, that leader is service, and that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. All those little simple concepts, I'm like, this could be transformative for me as a leader, but I also knew it could be transformative for everybody. Probably one of my very first small businesses that contacted me, I think it was the first, was Stacy Albritton Mitchell, our mayor now. She was the very first one who said she had a photography business, and I think she has futuristic as as her number one strength, and I think she already had some sights on being the mayor or what she might do in local government. She was an alderman, and she knew that the only way that you can lead well is to build up other leaders. Not long after that, I found myself working with graphic packaging, a big company, and I was a nervous wreck. I'm like, Jesse, who works with me, I'm like, how are we going to go from working with 5 people to working with a huge team? Just slowly but surely, more and more businesses, churches, schools, nonprofits, you name it, city governments, all of them have come and said, we're seeing what's going on. We see the culture. We know something is different at Melanie Massey Physical Therapy. I hired a physical therapist in 2011, Brian Russell, and he had gone to University of Central Arkansas, UCA, for PT school, where taking the strengths test was mandatory. So he gave me a book, and he said, I think you would like this. I read the book, I took the assessment, I was completely like, love it. My number one is woo, which means winning others over. I love to meet new people. I love high energy. I like to read a room. I like to make people feel comfortable immediately. My number 2 is communication. It means I have no problem talking. Sometimes too much. Communicators have to kind of watch out for that. Number 3 is maximizer. I have a level of excellence that I hold myself to, my team to. My number 4 is ideation. I'm creative. I love ideas. I love Pinterest. My notes section is insane. I screenshot everything because I can think about how I can use that in the future. I can maximize that idea and I can use it later, which brings me to my number 5, which is futuristic. It's usually no matter what I'm doing, my mind is thinking about how this will look. I can say next week, but I'm usually thinking 6 months to several years from now. I started just with a few friends saying, hey, I would love to teach your kids little art classes after school. And so I would, a couple of days a week, I would cut out early from therapy, go home, and we would do art in my backyard. Then we built a house, and we had an art room, and in that art room, I could bring in a few more kids. I built a bunk room upstairs that had 8 bunk beds in it. So I knew that I would also wanted to bring in not only kids, but women. And so I started having women's retreats. A building came up across the street, this building, from Melanie Massey Physical Therapy, and I knew, my dad had told me that if you ever have an opportunity to buy property adjacent to you, you need to try to do that. I said, I'm gonna buy it, I don't know what it's gonna be yet. And then I thought, this is much bigger than anywhere I'm doing art at my house. Maybe we could just, this front section, we'll just start doing some art classes here. Now we're doing 2 art classes a week after school. We have 2 toddler classes for ages 2 to 5-year-olds every week. The word of the year, a vision board, and a bullet journal class. So I'm sort of getting to mesh in some of my MoCo stuff with MoJoy. We have summer camps every single week of the summer, I believe, sans a few days. And we're seeing 350 to 400 kids in the summer who are coming through. Our mantra at the studio, you'll see it everywhere, you'll see it on our shirts, is created to create. We believe that we are created in the image of God, and we are created to be creative, just like He is. It's interesting to me how when you really go with your heart and you go with your gut and you do the things that you know God is leading you to do, there's gonna be some interconnection there that is really, really your sweet spot. The thing I can tell you about all 3 businesses is they've all 3 grown. I don't believe we've ever had a year that was worse than the year before. Maybe a quarter or so, but never a year. And so we've always grown. I'm of the mindset, if you ain't growing, you're dying. And so I know it'll be bigger. I know they'll be bigger, better, stronger. The roots will be deeper. The fruit will be more. As I'm seeing more people move up in Melanie Massey Physical Therapy, I'm thinking my tenure may be coming. I'm hoping and I'm visualizing that I'm gonna be more involved with MoCo leadership, helping more businesses around, I would say, town, but also the state, also the country, and doing some more speaking. We have a hippotherapy program that's gonna grow. We have a community garden that we've now started that's right next door to Melanie Massey that I think is gonna really expand. I see potential in people. I want them to see potential in themselves. Whether that's a patient, whether that's my own kids at my house, I know they can do great things. Whether it's the people in my clinics who never saw themselves as a leader, who I'm like, I see it, you are. The mission statement of all 3 of my companies is to joyfully use your gifts to brighten the lives of others. That's very important to me. I mean, you've heard me talk about strengths, and I'll interchange that with gifts, because I believe God's given me certain gifts and certain strengths, and it's my job, to impact people with those. I am gonna fire you up and get you excited and motivate you so that you can feel ready to go conquer the world.